Welcome to another episode of Neon City Gaming. This time around, it's just going to be a short little introduction slash early impressions, like if you will, for Space Marine. Flowdrive's over here had the big special edition of the game, so he's been getting to play during the premium early access period. So we're going to pick his brain, get a little idea of how it's been so far, and if it's really worth your money. So, Flowdrive, what are your overall thoughts between the first, for the second Space Marine compared to the first?
So, as we talked about in our last video, I was a really big fan of Space Marine 1, specifically because it was like, I'm a 40K fan, and that game made me feel like, oh man, this is what it's like to be a Space Marine. Very much a product of its time. My only reservations about the going into the new game before I played was that they were going to turn it into something else, turn it into something that I didn't want it to be. This is going to sound weird, but like a modern game TM
With like loot boxes and stuff like that?
Loot boxes or random drops, or like everything's got to be open world or checkpointy, side quests, things of that nature.
Okay.
I am happy to report, in the best way, that this is an old school video game. And what I mean by that is there's a story, and it is told via very sequential gameplay sessions in missions that you can call levels. Remember when games had levels?
I do. Like you jump on like chopped off stages and stuff like that, right?
Right, where you don't have to sit there and make it to a specific checkpoint, or it's like, well, I guess I ran around in this field and, did so many side quests, I guess I better save and turn it off, or what. No, there is...
That was one thing that Neo 1 was good about, is each level was its own unique map that you didn't have to... You can go ahead and explore the entire thing because you won't get lost. You won't end up, 30 levels away.
Right. It's a self-contained story, self-contained missions. It's not 400 hours long. The campaign is engaged. There's no downtime. There's no, all right, this is the slow part of the game to get back to the good part. It is tight, controlled, engaging gameplay loop, and they just spoon-feed that to you. In the best way, it is... Eat it up. In the best way, it's an old-school game. There's no gaining XP or getting skill points or assigning skill points that in the grand scheme of things don't mean anything because you end up maxing out skill trees anyways. It is... There's no meta builds. There's no, you have to go find this armor or anything like that. It is a... Tyranids are invading this planet. Here's your motivation. Go fuck shit up. And they took the fuck shit up game loop and they refined it and honed it, and it is amazing. This is some of the best fuck shit up gameplay loop I have ever played.
So would you say they made a Space Marine game for Space Marines?
Yes, this is, if you like the first game, this is that game, but better from a gameplay perspective at least. It's exactly what I wanted as an old school gamer. It's exactly what I want out of sequels or remakes. I want a better, tighter, prettier version of what I liked. And the campaign, Space Marine 2, is absolutely gorgeous. It plays fantastic, and I'll be honest with you, I'm super excited to play co-op with you. Because it looks really freaking fun.
I mean, the screenshots and the little bit of streaming I saw you doing, it did look pretty good, especially because I have gone back recently and started the first game just to see what it was like, just so I have something to compare it to. I'm not going to get far into it. I thought about beating it before I played or get the game, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to leave it where it's at.
I mean, we did a really good recap over the story. I mean, if you guys want to know about the story of Space Marine 1 before heading into Space Marine 2, go watch that one.
Speaking of that, actually, that's a good segue. Speaking of the first game, do you think this requires having beaten the first one to enjoy it?
So, without going into spoiler territory, there are direct references to the first game. and some story beats happen that, if you know what happened in the first game, will really set you up for what's coming, and you'll have insight to things that you normally wouldn't have. You don't need to have played the first game or be very familiar with its story, because it's very much you just know that Titus has seen and or done some stuff that landed him in Death Watch as a Black Shield. A lot of the stuff we talked about last time, where we weren't sure if he was sent there because of one thing or the other, that gets explained.
Okay.
Space Marine 2 does a really good job introducing you.
Does it tell you how long it's been between the first one and the second one in universe?
They do. The in-universe, they give you why he's in the Death Watch. They give you why he ends up back with the Ultramarines.
Oh, so he doesn't end up back with them. Okay. And then it is explained why he doesn't have the Ultramarine shoulder pad.
So they do, by name, call him out as a Black Shield. So unless you were into the 40k world or 40k lore, a Black Shield might not mean anything to you. But we did explain it in the last video when I was going over it. I don't know if you remember that, but
that's why I wrote it.
They do call him by name as a Black Shield.
Okay.
And he's given specific orders not to talk about certain parts of his past, which makes some really good interplay between him and his new squad.
But do they? Well, I don't know how far you've gotten in the game so far, but do they extrapolate on that?
They do. And I haven't completed the campaign yet, because while I did have early access, I'm a father of 2 and I work a lot. So I played as much as I could, and I'm looking forward to playing more, but I haven't beaten the main story yet.
Okay, so how far do you think you're in the game? Like, how long until you think the end is? Like, do you think you're close to the end? Do you think you're about halfway? Like,
honestly, I don't know if I'm halfway yet, because the co-op operations, which are the repeatable multiplayer PvE content, where you get to create your own or unlock armor, unlock weapons, level up the different classes. That's like its own separate thing from co-op campaign. There's co-op campaign, and then there's co-op PvE. The co-op PvE, you are actually playing as a squad from the campaign that Titus commands to, like, while we're doing this mission, we need you guys to run interference over here, or we need you guys need to go and do this objective. And in the co-op PvE missions, you are playing that other squad.
So kind of reminiscent of the red and blue guy from Splinter Cell.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, just like that.
Alpha and Bravo, or whatever their name was.
The PvE is, oh my god, the PvE operations campaign are so much fun. But before I get into that, what I was talking about, so you can jump directly into the PvE campaigns, even though they are tied to the main campaign. Now, it warns you, if you start playing missions that you haven't unlocked via progression, because they're not gatekeeped behind, you have to beat this level before you unlock this mission. It will let you play that mission, but it says, please don't. There's some spoilers. Now, if you don't care about the main campaign, you're just in it for the PvE. Say you're jumping ship from Helldivers, you need just another PvE game to play with your friends, and you don't care about the story, it doesn't gatekeep.
So these are actual missions you're playing from the campaign, and this is not just randomly generated. Like, you're not choosing 1 or 3 maps for the PvE multiplayer,
these are,
and then doing like a wave system kind of thing.
No, so there is a horde mode coming that has been confirmed in the roadmap. That it's free. That is going to be a free update that's coming later.
Okay.
Which is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for that, because I was a really big fan of ODST and Reach.
Gears of War. Mass Effect 3.
It's so good. But so you unlock co-op PvE missions as you play through the main campaign. There are 6 of them, and I've only progressively unlocked 2. So I don't know when the other missions come in. So I can't tell you exactly how far. I've heard the game takes roughly 10 to 12 hours to beat.
Okay, so kind of like the first one.
Yeah, it is not a long, sprawling, drag-out game. It is, like I said, an old-school video game. You got to fuck shit up, and the fuck shit up loop is there. And here's some cool story beats where you can do that too.
I feel like that's one of the, I guess, things I miss about video games in general is, and it draws comparison to my time with like RTSs of old, like Red Alert and stuff like that, where rather than relying on like a battle royale multiplayer or some kind of like hero PvE competitive thing, I could have fun outside of the main campaign just by playing skirmishes or mob runs, or like even Call of Duty back in the day when it had the what they call it, the two-player co-op mode that was on Modern Warfare 2 and stuff like that, like Spec Ops or something
operations,
like that.
or
Or like that, where it's, you know, these little self-contained, like little extra stuff that you can just have fun in the world without having to worry about the main campaign and those story beats or whatever. And I like that. Like, I like having the ability to just enjoy the world or game more without having to join other people necessarily, or to have to just play through the story again. You know?
Yes, it's very much an old school feel video game. I can, in like, kids are down for a nap. I've got some time between like them and you know, I've got some chores done, or I've got to go, you know, maybe I've got an hour free after work. I can hop on, I can play a campaign mission. And here's the thing too, you don't have to beat a campaign mission in order to save progress. There are checkpoints in the mission. If you quit out of the game, it'll remember where you are in that mission. Thank you.
So like,
thank you, Saber Interactive, because I, as a busy father who works a lot, need that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, because I know you've got some questions, but like, it feels great. I'm really liking it. There's no like overly meta build that you have to stick with if you want to be effective, or anything like that. You get to play the game your way.
That's good, because one of my questions is, did you have any major complaints or issues with the game?
So as far as
at least,
complaints with the game, I don't really, but I have run into some technical issues, which I know that they're aware of them. So there's
these are known issues.
These are known issues. There's something called the joining game server glitch. So whenever you are in campaign, you can seamlessly switch to PvE co-op by going to this console, and it has 3 tabs. You can go campaign, PvE, co-op, or PvP, and you just mouse over or click over to, say, PvE co-op, and then you just back out of the menu, and it switches you to that game mode. So you're standing there as Titus in your Ultramarine Lieutenant outfit. You go to that console, you switch over to PvE, you back out of the menu. It says, hey, are you sure you're switching game modes? You say yes. It fades to black, fades back in. Now you're your customized Marine on the same battle barge, and you can launch PvE missions, and other people can come onto your battle barge.
Wait, so you don't play as Titus in the PvE? I thought because you're playing the other camp. That's right. You said you're playing.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
It's really cool. They have their own voice lines, and they'll talk with each other. And because the other people you could be playing with could be any number of different classes.
Any number, or isn't there only 5 classes?
There's 6.
Okay.
But they're playing other classes. But when you're playing, those other classes are actual characters with names and voice lines, and so they'll talk to each other. So like I'm playing Vanguard a lot. That's my favorite class so far, and he's a feisty little Space Marine. He's the one he's got a voice line. One of my favorite voice lines I use all the time. It's like, the only thing better than a chainsword is 2 chainswords. And I'll just spam that every time we're in an elevator.
Oh, you get to like choose what they say?
Yeah, there's a social like voice line wheel. There's a basic like yes, no, thank you thing.
Okay. See, I was thinking it's more like Dark Tide, where it was just random, like in elevators and stuff like that.
Oh, they do talk to each other randomly too. Like there are scripted events where they'll talk and have conversations with each other, just like Dark Tide.
Do you hear the voices too? Oh, wrong game. So, I guess my last and final question of the prepared questions, at least. Anything that the first had that you wish this one had? Or does it seem like they pretty much took everything from the first and then just turned it up to 11?
they took everything from the first and they just made it better. In fact, something now this wasn't a knock against the first game, but I do believe that in the first game, because it's very much a product of its time. But in the first game, certain weapons were absolutely 100% better than other weapons. So, like, my main go-to melee weapon in the first game was the power axe. You could also get the... It's towards the end of the game, but there's, like, you start off with the knife, combat knife.
Yeah.
And you move up to the chainsword.
Well, you get the chainsword, like, much later on, like, after you get the sniper rifle.
Yeah. But I meant melee weapons.
Oh, okay.
Because you can argue certain... The shooting weapons in the first game, not a huge difference. Specialized, but not a huge difference. One's not inherently better than the other until you get like the actual upgrades for like the Kraken.
Yeah, because the only weapons or gun weapon so far I had was you have the bolt pistol, the bolter, the sniper bolt gun, which uses the darts or whatever, and then you had the plasma launcher or whatever it was. It was like this weird gun that had like
vengeance launcher.
Yeah, you shot little discs out that you could like manually pop or whatever.
Detonate. Yeah.
Which was neat, but like I didn't see too many chances to really need to use that weapon, I guess.
Let me just put it to you this way. I'm about to just explode on you because I really love this game. If you want the TLDR, this game is freaking fantastic. But weapons. All right, you asked about weapons. So, or you asked about, one thing or better than the other. So there were certain weapons in the first game that were just much better than others. In this game, the weapon balance is fantastic. Like, for a day one, like, no patches to nerf certain weapons or buff other weapons, things of that nature. The standard bolt pistol, just the standard bolt pistol, feels great. It does damage. You can pop heads with one shot for the
okay. That is a big difference because I hated the bolt pistol from what little bit of time that you're forced to use it. I'm like this. Yeah, because
you had to pump rounds into.
Yeah, and then
orcs.
Yeah, it was just terrible.
No, the bolt pistol feels great. Heavy bolt pistol is it fires much slower, has lower ammo, but it hits like a freaking truck. The plasma pistol, you can charge it, and it uses up 10 rounds every time you charge it, but it's like an AoE grenade going off when it hits. The melee weapons, the chainsword, feels completely different from the combat knife, feels completely different from the power sword, feels completely different than the thunder hammer and the power fist, but they all have their niches, they all have their different flows, and all are viable.
Okay, see, that's the thing. I want all weapons to be viable because I hate
all weapons are viable
when it's that puzzle thing of like, no, you got to use this weapon during these enemies and this weapon during these enemies. It's like, no. I see a group of like dudes. I'm gonna pop the launcher. I want to be able to pop the launcher when I'm having, or if I want to just be like, you know what? I haven't used my sword in a minute. Let me go toe to toe with them and like,
And I will say the melee combat in this game is just fantastic. It's almost like a fighting game at certain points. I'll put some footage here, but like you get surrounded by enemies, and so one of my favorite, I told you I've been playing as the Vanguard, and the melee weapon, he has access to the combat knife and chainsword. I've been using the combat knife mostly, and it's one of my favorite melee weapons. He looks cool just standing there with the knife, because
the knife does look a lot better in the.
This is Stardy's combat knife is like the size of a broadsword for another person.
Yeah, especially on the second one, and it makes it look sharp too. In the first game, it looks like a dagger knife blade,
Xbox 360.
Yeah, but it's like
level graphics.
It's blocky, and it's not. It looks like Link's sword when he's a kid.
It's fantastic. It's just thank you. The devs did a great job on this freaking combat knife, but. Every weapon has like combo chains and like heavy and light attacks. There are light attack combos. You can end in heavies. You can mix them in depending on the situation. So the heavy attacks with the combat knife are usually like stabs or single target hits, or sometimes they'll do some like acrobatic stuff with it.
Did they expand the combos, or is it still just spam square?
No. There are one thing I didn't think I was going to like was the button layout at first. The melee button is right bumper on the controller. and I do recommend
Like
playing this with the controller.
always.
So you might be able to remap, but here's the thing: I didn't have to because I was fully expecting to remap, but the right bumper feels good.
I mean, I've used bumpers for melees before in other games before, so it wouldn't be that far because I'm not too used to it. Even though it was, well, I say square X or not. Yeah, it's the X button on the X controller, the Xbox controller, right?
Space Marine 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, it feels great because you have everything you need. You've got right bumper for melee, left trigger shooting, left bumper for your defensive like block or counters, and then left trigger aim.
Oh, so there's actually a block because in the first game there's no like.
So
melee combat that was my only major complaint so far of the first. Sorry to like interject right here, but like
no, you're good. You're good.
Is just the fact that yes, you could kill things and do the like kill animations, but like while you're doing it, you're taking damage because it's so slow. And then when you're swarmed by enemies or whatever, and then it just felt clunky.
This game is a beautiful dance of death, and it is more fun the more challenging enemy you're fighting against.
Okay.
Because you have all of these options. So let's say an enemy is just charging you. All right, it's one of the Tyranid warriors. So as he's moving up closer to you, you're popping him in the head with your bolt pistol. Just as he gets, just putting damage on him. Right? Just pop, 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 pop. He goes to jump at you. Now, when they do attacks, sometimes they'll do a little blue flash. And if that blue flash pops up, you can time your block and you tap the block. And you'll counter and knock them off balance. Every time you knock an enemy off balance, a little reticle will pop up on their head, and you just tap the shoot button. And your Marine will automatically go into a cinematic camera angle of him just, like, shooting.
Okay, so he's got execution moves with the gun as well as the melee?
Yes. So if he's low health or he's already in the stun state,
that's how they would do it in the first one. We'd have the little, like, you stun them, and you'd have the little icon above their head to hit Y or whatever.
Yeah, but this is different. They kind of expanded on it.
Okay.
So if he's already near death and you do the counter and then shoot him in the head, you'll just outright kill him. You still get the armor bar back. It's just bang, and you get armor back. It's really cool. Camera goes to a cinematic angle. But you do bang, and if he's not at low health, you do massive damage to him. You can do this to bosses, too. If bosses do unblockable attacks or things of that nature, you can dodge out of the way at the last second, and it still triggers the gun. I forget what it's called. Something.
Right.
The badass moment. And it does damage to them. And so, but here's the thing. That blue flash is for your benefit, but you can do that to any attack that doesn't have the unblockable symbol on it. So if you're just watching an enemy closely and you see them go to swing at you, tap the counter button and you'll counter that attack. Certain enemies have combos they'll go through, so you'll have to counter each one of them, each one of the like 3 hits in the 3-hit combo. But at the end, you'll get to do that thing, and you can tear through enemies like that. Say you're wearing down an enemy in front of you with your melee combos. He holds the whole block. You press and hold your attack button to break through his block. Oh no, his buddy's coming at you. Tap the counter. You counter him, gunshot him, and then continue into your combo with the other guy. And when they start flashing red, that's like what it was in the old game, where they had the B button above their head. Mm-hmm. So when they're flashing red, then you can do an execution, which puts you into an unhittable state, so you get iframes. You're invincible while you're doing it. You regain.
See, that's what you need is the invincible iframes. Because there was not in the first one.
There were no iframes in the first one. You get iframes. It gives you armor back, and it'll stun or sometimes blow back enemies that are around you to give you some breathing room. And honestly, the best thing to do is go for the Tyranid warriors. If you see a swarm and there's just one Tyranid warrior, Vanguard's duty is to jump, or sniper is to take that guy down. Because once you take him down, it does an AoE that kills or stuns almost all the little guys in his area.
Well, the game sounds pretty sweet, and I can't wait to pick it up. I definitely, because I really wanted a good co-op game. I miss playing, like, we grew up playing Halo together, or Halo 2. We played Gears of War. We played Army of Two.
We played a lot of Army of Two.
conflict games. I'm looking forward to another like let's go back to back kind of moment. You know.
Oh man, you can in this game. There are enemies that will grapple you, and your squad mates can just shoot them off of you. There's an achievement for it.
It definitely sounds like a fun thing, and I definitely want to. I can't wait to get my hands on it because it does look pretty. So
yeah, I can't wait for you to get this game. I wholeheartedly, I would tell you to buy this game. You don't have to get the Super Edition or anything like that. I'm a really big Warhammer 40k fan. This game speaks to me. It's just super fun, and I highly suggest it. It's got my seal of approval so far.
If you're currently playing the game, guys, and you watched up to this point, give us a like, comment, or subscribe, and then let us know. Do you have any complaints with the game? Are you enjoying it? Do you think everyone should buy this game? Are you a complete 40k show like Flowdrive here? Not kidding. Just let us know.
I am not a shill. Games Workshop, give me money. I will shill for you.
He needs money for more minis, is what it is.